In this video, we will see how to use the distance sensor available in RoboSensei. So if you see, for example, the Explorer robot, here is the distance sensor, which is very similar to the ultrasonic distance sensor that is typically used with Arduino robots. The second thing that you would want to know about the distance sensor is that Sensei displays the sensor distance sensor values continuously here in the sensor dashboard. So if, for example, let's move the robot forward. Let's see here, 50-50 for 4.5 seconds, and let's see what happens if I execute that code. The robot will move forward, and the distance sensor can detect obstacles like the wooden block here, or there is a cup here. So if it can see any obstacle, and it will start measuring distance from that obstacles. So currently the robot is 1060 millimeters from the wooden block here. And as we run this code and as the robot moves, you will see that the sensor value continuously updates. So let's check that out. You can see everything, and let's execute the code. Robot is moving forward, and you can see the distance sensor value is changing as long as the robot is moving and getting closer to the block. So how do we use the distance sensor to make our robot intelligent? So for example, I can make the robot stop before hitting this wooden block. So I can use the distance sensor in my code to make the robot intelligently detect the distance from this block and have the robot stop. So let's see how we can do that. So first of all, the distance sensor block is what you can use to measure distance in your code. So I'm going to use, let's say repeat while the distance is greater than 100 millimeters, and I want the robot keep going forward. That means I need to apply positive power to both wheels. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that 100 so the robot moves faster. So I want the robot to continue to get forward motion as long as the distance is greater than 100 millimeters. As soon as the distance becomes equal to or less than 100 millimeters, this loop will exit, and I want the robot to stop. I also, let us use the knowledge that we gained in the past. While going forward, I want the robot to turn on the, let's just say, red light. And once it stops, I want to turn off the red light. Sorry, there's the off, turn off the red light and stop. I also want the robot to wait for a second before it starts, after I ask it to start going forward. So we just wait for a second here, and then we turn on the red light, and then we keep going forward until the distance is greater than or less than 100. Sorry, so it should be, as long as the distance is greater than 100 millimeters, we want the robot to keep going forward, and then turn off the light and then stop. So let's execute this code and see. Let's observe the distance sensor and the behavior of the code and the distance sensor value here. So I'm going to execute this code. See, the red light is on, the robot is going forward, and it stops about when the distance is about 82, which is less than 100 millimeters. So we allowed the robot to go forward as long as the distance is greater than 100 millimeters. So for example, at this point, we can augment this code, for example, to make the robot come back for 4.5 seconds, let us say. So I'm going to make negative power here. So this code will make the robot go forward until the distance from this wooden block is less than 100, and then make the robot come back for 4.5 seconds. So let's take a look. You can see the distance sensor value here, stops and comes back. There it is. So that's how you can use the distance sensor in your code.